What's up, everyone? Back again with another hockey commentary from your favorite midget dad. And I know a lot of people they like to talk about creating the perfect, player for their respective sport. Like I could build the perfect quarterback, or I could build the perfect, outfielder or point guard. Well, having watched hockey for so long, I think I can honestly build, at least from what I've seen and know, the perfect hockey player. Now, we'll do, by a different anatomy and don't get gross, pervs. I start with, the IQ and the brain, and I don't think there was a smarter hockey player than 99, which, by the way, I have a King sweater upstairs, courtesy of my buddy Zeke, aka Big Daddy Primetime. Shout out there. Um, there was no smarter player than Wayne Gretzky. He always said I wasn't the most physically capable guy in the world, but he always thought the game 10 steps ahead. Basically, he was Peyton Manning on skates. So I don't think you can go wrong there. I mean, there's plenty of other guys you could talk about, at least from a defensive standpoint, maybe a Larry Robinson or a Serge Savard or, even a Scott Stevens. But we're going to go brain wise, we're going to go with Wayne Gretzky. Now, lower body in terms of skating ability, gotta go with the Russian Rocket. There is no faster player, more explosive from his first step than Pavel Bure, who also is my all-time favorite hockey player. Hate that he never won a Stanley Cup. Within one step, he's in full stride, and you can't catch him. There was a quote in the '94 Cup Finals that Canadian broadcaster Harry Neal had after he scored a breakaway goal. No one on this earth or any other earth for that matter is going to catch him. He had obscene speed, and he's underrated in terms of his lower body strength. Now, for hands, there are so many guys you could take for, who has the best hands. I'm honestly going to have to go with Mario. Mario is so smooth and slick with his hands, especially for a guy his size. At 6'4", 225 pounds. He wasn't, the fastest inline skater, but incredibly quick, and he can make guys, goaltenders, I should say, look really stupid. And he has the sweetest set of hands probably I've ever seen. Now, we get down to the physical attributes in terms of upper body. Zdeno Char. I mean, it's the biggest damn defenseman player in the history of the league, 6'9", 255 pounds. Now, I'll take that as an upper body. However, in terms of hitting ability, Scott Stevens and nobody else. Plenty of great hitters in the history of the league. Rob Blake, best butt checker in the league. They called him Anvil Ass for a reason. I've seen him knock Jochen Heston all the way back to Germany once. We were playing against the Kings, and he just butt checked him so hard he flew off his feet into the boards. Jesus. But Scott Stevens, his highlight reel speaks for itself, and you can find it on YouTube. Ron Francis got hit so damn hard he staggered back to the bench, couldn't stand up on his own. Of course, he killed Eric Lindros. Slava Kozlov, he had his chin strap stuck up in here. You can't get any better as a hitter than Scott Stevens. And no, he wasn't a dirty player for those who were thinking that, and also for my friend Chris, who's a huge Flyers fan and doesn't like Scott Stevens. But the dude's not dirty. Only 4 elbowing penalties his whole career. Now we get to the actual skill attributes. And we talked about Bure's speed and with his lower body. Now we're talking about shooting, shot power, Al McGinnis. Wood stick, even if he ever picked up a composite stick and shot with one once, Al's the hardest shooter in the history of the NHL. It's not even close. I know there's other guys out there who've had hard shots. Shea Weber today, Al Iafrate back in the wood stick era, Bobby Hull, Brett Hull. But I'm taking Al. I saw the guy once in a game against Chicago score a goal on a slap shot, and he broke Jocelyn Tebow's hand. They they took his glove off, his catching mitt, and his palm was bleeding. Hand to God, right here, right in the middle. His palm was bleeding. He didn't return. I've never seen another player do that. Okay. Now, for on ice vision as a passer, we've already picked Wayne. We're only going to take one attribute from one player. Not going to abuse that here. For a passer, in terms of on ice vision, Adam Oates. Look what he did with Brett Hull. Hull and Oates, the most dynamic passer and shooting duo that I've ever seen. Gotta go with Adam Oates. He always made all of his line mates better. Guys put up bigger numbers because of him. Peter Bondra arguably had his best all-around years in Washington because of Adam Oates, and they got to the finals with him. Um, Other abilities, and we're going to get into some intangibles soon, also. But how about this one? The hands for fighting of George Laraque. Tons of great fighters throughout the history of the game. Of course, being a Blues fan, you probably initially thought I'd say either Tony Twister or Kelly Chase, but I'm actually going to take a guy I never saw lose a fight. King George Laraque. There's a reason that he was nicknamed the heavyweight champion of the world. I never saw this dude lose a fight, whether he played for Montreal, Edmonton, and other teams that he was with. He always won. Complete badass on the ice. Um, let's see. Body strength, overall, top to bottom, you can combine upper and lower. In terms of balance, someone you can't knock off the puck, I would take the balance of Yarmir Yager. I don't care how old he is, which, by the way, would someone please sign that hobo? Please. He's 47 years old. He deserves a job. Please sign Yarmir Yager. I don't want to turn this into a sappy video where I want someone to just pick him up as a charity case, but seriously, sign him. Um, I never saw him get knocked off the ice in all the years I've been watching the game and watching him play. He has incredible balance and great body control. Never saw anyone have enough force or willpower to move him off his feet. So for balance wise, I would take Yarmir Yager. You really can't go wrong there. Um, and now we get to the intangibles portion because I think we've already made ourselves a hell of a hockey player so far. Um, Heart and toughness. I would honestly go with one of my favorite players who I think is vastly underrated. That is Ryan Smith, Captain Canada. Ironically, only captain for the Oilers in one game, which was his last game. But that guy sacrificed so much. He lived in front of the net. That's where he made his living and scored a lot of his goals was in front of the net. And I tell you what, he took a beating for a long time. You could also throw Shane Doan in there, who made his living in front of the net, and maybe a Thomas Holmstrom. But I'm going to take Ryan Smith simply because he has a little bit more all-around skill than those guys. And toughness, if you're looking for a tough guy who always goes and sticks up for his teammates, there's a lot of people you could go in and choose. I'm going to take a underrated choice here because he wasn't a overly physical guy, but he always took up for his teammates, and that's Chris Draper because he's also a gentleman too. You know, he wasn't the type to scrap, but he wasn't about to stand down for anyone. Plus, if you look at him from an overall ability standpoint, fantastic in the face-off circle, great skater, great leader. I've always been a fan of Draper, even though I didn't like the Red Wings, but I would take his grittiness and combine that with the toughness of Ryan Smith. You ask me, I think we made a hell of a hockey player. Now, I'd like your opinions as to who you would construct to make the perfect player from whatever generation. Notice I took guys primarily from the last 25 years, but you know, if we were to make an 80s player, you know, you borrow a lot of Gretzky, you know, a lot of Messier. I mean, you know, your Pat LaFontaines, Dennis Savards, Dale Hawerchucks, guys like that. 70s Bobby Orr. Honestly, you could just take Bobby Orr and leave it. Because to me, he's the second greatest player to ever play the game behind Gretzky. And some would say Mario, but that's just me. Anyway, hope you enjoyed my commentary. Sorry about the camera being a little bit wonky, but it's also well past 1 in the morning. just, me talking hockey. Hope you guys enjoy it. No gimmicks, no fillers, none of that nonsense. Just a little guy waiting on his hockey season to start. So, till next time, we'll see you soon.